Hey everyone, so I am here with Tim Black, host of No Sellouts with H.A. Goodman, and of course, he is the host of Tim Black TV. Tim, it has been a really long time since we talked. I think it was the primaries, but you filled in for me last summer and whatnot.
Dude, well, first of all, Mike, man, thank you so much for having me on the show, man.
Thank
I
you for being
appreciate it.
on. I'm still pissed off at the Democratic Party, and I know that you're the same way because both of our videos are kind of the same in terms of content. Like, we still equally criticize Trump, we still equally criticize Democrats. And in one of my videos, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm still pissed off.
I hate to admit it, bro. In the beginning, I was a little hesitant to criticize Trump because I felt everyone else was laying in on him so hard that I was like, you know what? Let me see what he's going to do. But God, Mike, he just kept doing stuff. You know, like he just continued. So I talked to Lee Camp about it because I noticed Lee Camp had finally started to hit him. And I said, Lee, man, we don't want to be like mainstream media, man. And he said, Tim, and this was great. He said, Tim, just make it about the policy. Make it about the bad policies. And if you do that, if you won't sound like, I don't know, what's his name? God, Trevor Noah, or you won't sound like these guys who just beat up on him daily on stupid stuff like his hand size, and just go for really cheap shots. Like, you won't sound like that. So, I mean, yeah, now I'm coming for him because he's done so many. He gutted EPA. Oh God, he cut HUD. Now he's dropping. Then he did the Tomahawks, and now you got the Moab. I mean, dude, that's it. I mean, some of those picks I let slide because, gosh, some of Obama's picks suck too, but like his suck more.
Yeah, the thing about Trump is that he seems like he's doing things just for the sake of being an asshole. Just simple things that you don't have to do, that don't really, very few people benefit from them, but you're doing it to be an asshole. Like when he cuts certain types of, like he is repealing or doing away with one of the rules that Obama implemented that prevents, let me re-explain this. So basically, prior to Trump coming in, corporations had to prove that they were abiding by an act that prevents discrimination against women and LGBT people. And he just did away with it. So now if you're a company that wants a federal contract with the government, you don't have to prove that you don't discriminate against women. He just did away with that. I mean, does he think he's going to generate support among the crowd of people in the United States that are pro-discrimination against women, the two people, that are very, overtly sexist? I mean, it makes no sense. Why would you do that unless you just want to be a dick? It's little things that make no sense to me that I can't explain.
Yeah, first of all, I didn't know about that. And second of all, I agree with you again. Like you said, like we usually on the same side of issues. Dude, what's the point of releasing that requirement? Like, do you think it's too hard for companies to prove something that they should already be doing? Like, come on, man. Like, that should be something that is part of the business philosophy, that they want, diversity, that they want different people, they want to support that. They should already be doing it. That should be like something like, oh yeah, we do that. Don't even work, check mark, because come on, we're an ethical company and we support, we support all people. We want the best people, and they happen to be all people. So yeah, man, I agree with you, Mike.
Right, and one thing that just popped into my mind, because there's so many little things that he's doing that it's hard to keep track of all of them, but I've been trying to cover. So Obama had one rule in place that protected endangered species, and one of those was the bumblebee, I believe. Okay. One of the bees is in danger. But anyways, maybe you know more about that than me. But Obama just put in a new regulation to protect them because they just got moved to the endangered species list. And then when Trump went in and froze all federal regulations, he could have went through and reviewed some of them. He chose to ignore the bee one. And still, we don't know if there is protection for bumblebees yet, if that is the bee. So just little things. It's like, who would be against this? I don't think you're going to find much pushback against, people who are anti-bumblebee. The one person in the country that you can find who is, vehemently against bumblebees. So it's just little things that I don't know. What is the point? You're just being a dick. There's no other explanation.
I was thinking about the bears, like that horrible plan, like you could go in and shoot bears while they hibernate. Like, dude, I mean, like you said, dick move, right? Like,
Right.
why do you need to do that? If you're a hunter, like, aren't you accustomed to shooting stuff that's alive? Like it's awake, it's knowing that, it's, I mean, where's the sport in that for hunters? And if we have such an overpopulation of bears, isn't it another way that we would handle that besides creeping into their caves while they're sleeping? It just seems like a horrible thing to do. Like you said, just to be an asshole.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, I think that, like with you you were reluctant to kind of criticize him for certain things. I think all of us were, because we don't want to appear as though we're partisan hacks. Like that's kind of my thing. Like I don't want to just attack Trump because he's Donald Trump and he's a Republican. I gave him a chance and he blew it within like a couple of weeks. And well, I have to be fair, of course. When I say give him a chance, I was very like I was watching everything he was doing, basically. But right. I mean, like, we don't want to appear as though we're partisan hacks, so we're not going to attack him just because, like you were talking about how, they make fun of him for the dumbest things possible, where we actually have to focus on the things that are important. Like, I don't know, like, okay, I think the tax return thing, I think Kyle from Secular Talk had a great segment where he talked about the protests on Trump's tax returns, how people really want him to release it. Why aren't they... Instead of protesting his tax returns, which we all agree he should release, why not protest the bombs that he's dropping? I mean, all the civilians that he's killing. So it's frustrating to see him doing really horrible things, but the main things that are being focused on in the mainstream media is how he said something stupid, and Sean Spicer, he made another gaffe and whatnot, and I covered that too. But I mean, like, if you're the mainstream media, instead of cheerleading him on when he's dropping the mother of all bombs, just maybe you don't take everything that the Pentagon and the White House tells you and just accept it as gospel. Maybe actually push back, do some research, look for evidence yourself. I mean, whatever happened to journalists actually investigating? But you don't get that if you watch the main three networks. And less people are watching those main three networks, which is why we are being demonetized right now, because we're the alternative. And they want to protect the status quo.
Yeah, their numbers took a hit, bro, and they want those numbers to go back up. And some of them are now coming to the internet. If you notice, when you go look up stories, you're doing your research, a lot more people are making videos now. They're trying to compete with us, man. You go to New York Times, they got videos now. You go to Huffington Post, everybody's got videos. I'm like, wow, everybody's doing videos. Go to MSNBC, videos, goodness gracious, CNN video. I'm like, okay, so now you see the business upside to it. Of course, they don't have any personalities, Mike. So they're just sound like it's almost computer generated when they do it. But just to the point when you said about Kyle and the tax returns, I just did my first video on Trump's tax returns. The only reason why I did it, because it's tax time. That's the only reason why I did it. And someone said, people don't care about his taxes. I think it's important only because it's tax time, and only because he's the only president who hasn't done it since Nixon. And since he's been lying and flip-flopping on so much crap, I wanted to hit him on it. I wanted to say, look, guys, you Trump people who support me, who watch my stuff, you need to question why he's so vehement about not releasing them. Like, come on, dude. We want this problem to go away. The longer he does this, the longer it stays here. We want it gone. So it's not so much I really want to know what he made. I don't care what he made. It's more than what I made, Mike. But you know what I'm saying? But let's get the conversation over with. I felt the same way about Hillary with the transcripts. I didn't let that shit go either. So I'm not gonna let. And so I feel fine about it. But yeah, I care more about the bombs. But Mike, if we care more about the bombs, or if the rest of the country cares about the bombs now, they gotta admit they didn't give a shit when Obama was doing it. And that's probably why you don't see any sponsored protests about the bombs. Because heck, man, a lot of Democrats are war hawks too. They're warmongering too. So they're actually happy that Trump bombed.
Oh yeah, they are. And that frustrates me, because the lack of scrutiny that Obama received among the left when he was dropping bombs, it frustrates me, because when we come out and denounce Donald Trump dropping bombs, it makes us look like hypocrites if they don't know where we're coming from. Like, for example, I had a comment on my channel saying, oh yeah, you're talking about Donald Trump being a warmonger, because I called Donald Trump a bloodthirsty warmonger, which he is. But, somebody commented and said, oh, I bet you weren't calling out Obama for being a bloodthirsty warmonger and bombing Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. And yeah, actually I was. I was talking about that too. It's just like, unlike the hacks in the media, I'm consistent. I call them out if they're Democrat. I call them out if they're Republican. Those bombs don't, they don't change. They still kill people regardless of the party affiliation of the president. So my opinion isn't going to change. I'm not going to be a hack and say, well, Obama did it, but he was more careful. No, Obama dropped bombs and they killed many, many civilians. I am outraged just as much now that Trump is doing it.
Yeah, I think what we got to do is we got to take the extra 30 seconds to a minute and tell them that in the video, because they're so used to seeing people who are two-faced, who are hypocrites, who are, they just probably watched Rachel Maddow and was like, oh, here she go. So we have to take the time, man, and you should definitely do it, man, because, you're a straight shooter. So let them know they're watching a straight shooter, and feel free to hit Obama. Hit Obama, then hit Trump. I don't know. I mean, just so they know, because we are the last defense, bro. I really feel that way. Like independent media, there's several other people, H.A. Goodman, all of us, man, we're independent media. And if we respected, if we don't stake our claim, they're gonna all go back to mainstream media. And I can't have that happen, bro. I got kids.
Right. And my whole thing is, I was thinking about this, last week with all of this YouTube advertiser crisis nonsense, is that what if all of the independent media shows just went away? Then, all the only narrative that people would get with respect to Syria, for example, is just the mainstream media narrative. And then to see how much public opinion would be affected by that immediately, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because it's difficult to know. If you have all of the media marching, in unison with Donald Trump, with the political establishment trying to beat the war drums, and there's nobody speaking out with at least a small audience, even just 10,000 people. I mean, what are the implications for the country? It's incredibly terrifying. It really is.
It is. And it makes you wonder every once in a while. I think about how it was, 40 years ago, before the internet, and how people and even before cable news, man. I mean, people listen to news by radio. Just imagine how easy it was to manipulate the public. I mean, you had like 1 or 2 stations, 3 stations, or people didn't even have TVs. Gosh, man. I mean, if you look back at our history and all the atrocities, all the crap we did as a country, you can kind of figure out why it got done. No opposing voice. You can't get the word out. Heck, man, like they could get away with anything. So it's so important for independent media, man. We got to support it. And that's why we got to continue to shout each other out and keep amplifying each other's voice, man. And heck, man, I tell everybody, man, subscribe to Mike M, subscribe to H.A. Goodman, subscribe to all independent media. Heck, you should have more than one channel on your dial, dude. Don't feel like you can only watch one person.
Right. And, I made this comment. What I said was that, if one of us falls, if one of the not mainstream, one of the independent shows falls, one of the progressive independent shows falls, we're all vulnerable. So I did a video where I linked all of the Patreons for like all of us, anyone I could think of that had a Patreon that does a progressive show, because it's like we all have to kind of stick together, because if you support one of us, you're kind of supporting all of us in a way, because we're a progressive community. But I mean, together, if you combine all of our shows, all the progressive shows, it's millions of people. I'm counting the big ones like TYT and whatnot, RT viewers like Lee Camp's show and whatnot. I mean, if you combine all of us, it's huge. So we all have to make sure that, we're all in this together and we're all pushing back against the mainstream media, because you can't get anything done unless you have big enough numbers, really. So that's why, it is important. But I won't take up too much of your time. Tim, can you tell them where to find you?
Yeah, guys, go to TimBlackTV.com. I'm also on YouTube as Tim Black TV or TBTV. That's under Tim's Take Live. But if you got any problems finding me, just go to TimBlackTV.com. I have your link up there for my YouTube stuff. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I appreciate you, Mike.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.